I'm on my way, Jungkook mutters into the phone, pulling on his jacket as he walks, and tries to shove his study folders into his backpack. He clutches the phone between his shoulder and ear as papers fall out of his hands, and pulls the coffee shop door with his shoulder. "Sorry, he shouts, turning around to the counter where his boss is standing. "I'll take an extra shift, I promise," he throws over his shoulder and slips through the closing heavy door. He keeps trying unsuccessfully to stuff his textbook and notes into his backpack. Now, on top of everything else, Jungkook is also hindered by the wind that has risen outside, and an annoyed female voice still sounds at the other end of the line. "Jungkook, please," the girl says. "You know I can't get there faster than you. Please hurry up or we'll all be evicted." "I know," Jungkook sighs resignedly, almost whimpering because his backpack won't close. "I know. How long will it take you to get there?" "I'm on my way to the subway." "I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. Text me when everything is settled." "Now I got to go," and the girl hangs up before Jungkook has even a chance to answer. And when he intercepts his backpack with things falling out of it with one hand and the other reaches for his ear to put the phone away, he is caught by an unexpected and rather strong collision with someone. Jungkook's phone falls right onto the sidewalk, and you can almost hear the screen cracking as it hits the stone slab. Jungkook staggers slightly from the collision with a tall and wide body and almost presses his backpack into the other person's chest. He exclaims, stomping his feet in annoyance. Still embittered, stuffing his notes inside, the boy throws his backpack over his shoulder and leans to the side, picking up his, no doubt, broken phone from the ground. "Watch your step, you damn idiot," Jungkook growls, already about to burst into tears with frustration, and pushes the object of collision in the shoulder in order to throw out at least a little resentment for the whole day, and then he runs further straight to the subway. The man stands in the same place and skeptically looks after the runaway rude young man. He frowns, snorts in annoyance, and watches the escaping stranger for a few more seconds. "Teenagers," he sighs tiredly, rubbing his shoulder rather just for show, and rolls his eyes as he straightens his quote. After making sure his papers are in order, he checks to see if the car keys fell out of his pants pocket when he bumped into this little guy. The man looks down at his shoes, noticing that his right foot has a mark left by the teenager's sneakers. Bending down, he shakes off the dust from his shoes, and his eyes fall on a keychain lying nearby, which must have flown off that boy. He bites his lip as he lifts it up, and looks at it for just a couple of moments. He sees a red anatomical heart hanging from a short chain in a ring. The man chuckles, grinning out of the corner of his mouth, puts it in his pocket, and then he still moves to the doors of the next building, being 5 minutes away from being late for his meeting. Once in a crowded subway car, Jungkook can breathe out. He presses his back against the door, zips his backpack up to the end, and closes his eyes for a few seconds. Finally, peace. Only now he cannot rush and run, falling from his feet, because he certainly will not affect the speed of the train. And that's what's comforting. The sound of wheels and a mechanical voice announcing the stations cause some amazing peace in him. The buzz of subway activity mingling with people's conversations and the cool breeze touching his neck, all of this never changes. And this is the only thing Jungkook loves in this city that is so confidently trying to drown him in its nets. Jungkook takes a deep breath as he surveys the crowded carriage. Looks at people who are just going to work or are already in a hurry to go home. And none of them seem overly concerned about anything. Jungkook glances at opposite doors, looking at himself in the reflection. And does he look concerned? One step away from being kicked out of the condo because one of his terrible flatmates is drowning the tenants downstairs right now. Jungkook is supposed to look worried, isn't he? But instead, the only thing his facial expression tells is just how tired he is. How much he is tired of doing everything just in order to survive, and how much he wants only peace of mind alone with himself. In his own thoughts, he doesn't notice how time flies by when the name of his station comes from the speakers. Sighing, he straightens his jacket and backpack on his shoulder. After waiting for the doors of the car to open, spitting him out into the station along with a small stream of people, Jungkook hurries to get out. And he's got to run again. Run, as always, making his way through the onlookers outside and trying not to get caught by street thieves. A familiar house ahead, he speeds up the run. Front door, stairs up. Jumping over several at once, Jungkook reaches the third floor and finds himself in front of the old door of the apartment 3B. Pulling the keys out of his pocket, he turns them in the lock and pushes the door, which lets him into the dilapidated abode. The stale air and unpleasant odor hit the nose. Stale garbage, dampness and fumes, which one of the rooms of the apartment is saturated with, mix into a disgusting aroma, which is saturated with Jungkook's whole life in its turn. Throwing his backpack on the shabby sofa in the small living room, he wanders into the kitchen without taking his shoes off. The light-colored linoleum, which in some places has dark spots and scratches, now is covered with water. Damn it, Jungkook curses when he notices that the water in the kitchen sink is open. And the drain seems to be clogged again, because it overflows over the edges, filling everything around with water. Wiping off his hands, Jungkook grimaces. He can feel how wet his Converse have already become. Opening the pantry cracking and barely hinged door, he pulls out a bucket, a mop, and some rags. Yeonjun shouts, throwing a bucket and a mop on the floor, and confidently stomps into the hallway, to the right door. Yeonjun repeats, banging on the door several times, that just opens under pressure, and turns out to be not locked at all. Jungkook opens it wider, peering in disgust into the little room. The windows are curtained with pieces of dark rags because his dickhead flatmate doesn't even think of buying blinds. Junk and rubbish are everywhere, mugs scattered here and there on the floor, plastic bottles, food packages and who knows what else that Jungkook does not want to dig into. He finds a 25-year-old guy lying on the floor with his head resting on the bed. He's pale, with hollow cheeks and dark circles under his eyes. His skin is an unpleasant olive hue, as if poisoned by everything it absorbed over the years. Jungkook grimaces, noticing his dirty legs with regrown nails, jeans stained with vomit, and a rumpled dirty t-shirt. He glances at the syringes lying nearby, and at the dark spots on the crook of his flatmate's elbow. Hey Yeonjun. He kicks him lightly, doubting the guy is even conscious. But Yeonjun mumbles something indistinctly in response, barely showing signs of life. What the hell did you leave the water for? Jungkook asks, as if he hopes he gets an answer. But Yeonjun seems to be beginning to pass out again. Hey. Answer me when I'm talking to you. Jungkook kicks him in the thigh again, pissed off at everything around. Go clean up the water, you piece of shit. He throws a dirty floor rag right in the flatmate's face, making him wince. If we get evicted, I'll slip you under moss, got it? And I'll steps on you, he threatens, kicking the guy again and trying to stir him up as quickly as possible. Get the room, Yeonjun grumbles angrily, finally coming to his senses. Who let you in here? Go clean up the water, Jungkook says, rolling his eyes. We flooded attendance because of you, hackhead. Focus on your own shit, bimbo. The guy lets out a chuckle, imposingly patting Jungkook on the shin. Jungkook jumps aside in disgust. Touch me again and the cops will know who all the local junkies buy their dope from. Got it? The boy grumbles through his teeth, and then, with even more anger, throws a second rag at the guy. Go ahead and clean everything up. Now, he leaves the room, grabbing his backpack, which he left on the living room couch, and moves to his own bedroom, not wanting to spend another minute next to his terrible housemate. Silence. He needs silence. And he needs his bed to sleep at least a few hours. Jungkook pulls off his wet Converses and lays them on a poorly functioning radiator with the soles up, so that the fabric part has time to dry out a little. Exhaling noisily, Jungkook turns back to the door to lock it in the next second, and then removes his jacket and thin sweater, throwing his clothes over the back of a chair. His jeans go there too, and old sweatpants and a stretched big t-shirt comes to replace it and make him comfortable. Jungkook finds clean socks in a drawer to warm his wet feet, then yawns, rubbing his face with his hand to ward off the fatigue. He glances at himself in an unframed mirror on the floor against the wall and notices how sleepy he looks. This won't do, Jungkook thinks, and then looks at the broken screen of his phone. It's 6 in the evening. At least I have a few more hours, he nods to himself. Quickly connecting the discharged phone to charging, he texts to his another flatmate. 2. Me, I'm at home. Got Yeonjun to clean the water. It's okay. Up and fell asleep, leaving the faucet running or something. Now I'm going to sleep for a few hours. See you at work. Sighing. He leaves the phone on the floor by the socket, remembering to set the alarm for 9 o'clock, and climbs into bed. A soft pillow allows him to shift his headache to it, and a cold, heavy blanket promises to warm him if he lays under it a little. Jungkook falls asleep, ignoring the noise of passing cars outside the window and the way Yeonjun curses as he wipes up the water spill everywhere. You haven't been here before, Mr. Kim, have you? The administrator of the establishment smiles at the man, helpfully letting him into the hallway. I looked around the building, Taekook nods. And I had a little talk with the chief manager. He tried to bring me up to date. So you know what our establishment is aimed at, don't you? The guy clarifies carefully, and Taekook nods vaguely again.